Picture this. You're stopped at a red light. In the lane next to you, there's a guy named Peter. Peter is drumming his fingers on the steering wheel of a brand new leased German sports sedan. He's got chrome rims, a fresh fade, and an $1,100 watch glinting in the sun. What he doesn't say out loud is that the car costs him $900 a month. 4 cars back is Laura. She's taking a sip of lukewarm coffee out of a dented thermos. She's driving a 2014 Toyota Camry with 190,000 miles on the dash and a coffee stain on the passenger seat that has outlived 2 of her iPhones. You glance at both of them, and your brain instantly files them into 2 categories. Peter is winning. Laura is just getting by. Except your brain is lying to you. One of these people is exactly 1 bad month away from total financial collapse, and it is not the woman in the Camry. Laura quietly has more money in her investment accounts than her own dentist. We get this exactly backwards, because today we aren't just talking about cars, and we aren't just talking about being frugal. We are talking about what happens to your entire life the exact moment you stop performing wealth. The day you stop trying to look rich, a switch flips. And today, we are going to follow that switch all the way down. Let's start with a part that should genuinely annoy you. The entire visual language of wealth, the cars, the watches, the clothes, is a complete lie that we all just blindly agree to believe. Years ago, 2 researchers went out and surveyed thousands of American millionaires. They expected to find imported cars, tailored Italian suits, and Rolexes. What they found instead was actually a little embarrassing for the rest of us. Half of the millionaires they studied had never paid more than $399 for a suit in their entire lives. The median price for the most expensive watch they owned? $235. And the single most common car brand among American millionaires wasn't Mercedes or BMW or Tesla. It was Toyota. Let that sink in. The typical millionaire drives the exact same car as the assistant manager at your local grocery store. Meanwhile, the guy at the next table with the flashy watch and the lease convertible is statistically far more likely to be drowning in debt than the guy in the off-the-rack blazer who quietly owns 3 laundromats.
And if you think this is outdated data, it's actually gotten worse. Recent automotive data shows that over 60% of households earning over $250,000 a year do not drive luxury brands. They drive Hondas, Fords, and Toyotas. So who is buying all the luxury cars? People who can't really afford them. Households making under $100,000 a year buy more than twice as many luxury vehicles as genuinely high-income households do. The badge on the hood isn't a signal of wealth anymore. It's a signal of a massive monthly payment attached to a totally normal income. Here's a statistic that should honestly be printed on every dollar bill. A recent Goldman Sachs survey found that over 40% of people earning between $300,000 and $500,000 a year describe themselves as living paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck on $400,000 a year? How does that even happen? It happens because of a mechanism called lifestyle creep, but the way it actually works is so much sneakier than that. There's a concept from the 1700s called the Diderot effect. It's named after a French philosopher who was gifted one single beautiful scarlet robe. Suddenly, his old wooden desk looked shabby next to his gorgeous new robe. So he bought a new desk. But then his chair didn't match the new desk, so he bought a new chair. Then the art on the walls had to go. He literally spent himself into crippling debt, all to chase the standards set by one nice robe that he didn't even ask for. That is the engine of the American dream. You get a promotion, you buy a nicer car, but now pulling your nice car into the parking lot of your crappy apartment feels embarrassing, so you upgrade the apartment. Then your old IKEA furniture looks out of place in the luxury apartment. Every single upgrade quietly resets your definition of normal, and normal is the most expensive thing you will ever buy. To make matters worse, there's something psychologists call hedonic adaptation. It means you buy the thing, you get a massive spike of joy, and 3 weeks later, your brain just shrugs. The dream sports car becomes just the car I take to get groceries. So you go looking for the next spike. The treadmill speeds up. You never arrive anywhere, you just spend more money to stand in the exact same emotional spot.
Nowhere is this machine more efficient than in the car industry. The average new car payment in America is now pushing $800 a month. 1 in 5 new car buyers is signing up for a payment of over $1,000 a month. To make these numbers feel survivable, dealers are stretching loans out to 84 months, 7 years. You will be making payments on that car until it is old enough to be in the 2nd grade. Because the loans run so long and cars lose value so fast, roughly a third of people trading in a car right now owe more on it than it's worth. They are underwater. So what do? They roll that negative equity, sometimes $7,000 or more, into the next car loan. This is Peter, our guy at the red light. He is literally financing a car he no longer owns just to drive a car he already can't afford. And nobody at the dealership is explicitly lying to him. They've just gotten extraordinarily good at selling a feeling. You walk in worried about a $40,000 price tag, and they never let you think about $40,000 again. They talk in monthly payments. A price is terrifying. A monthly payment is digestible. They smooth over every rational objection with just 1 more year of payments. I want to tell you about a real study run on bankruptcy records by the Federal Reserve. It is one of the most quietly disturbing facts in all of personal finance. Researchers looked at neighborhoods where one person won the lottery. Then they watched what happened to the people living right next to the winner. They found that the bigger the lottery prize, the more the neighbors went bankrupt. Not the winner, the neighbors. Why? Because when the Joneses suddenly had more money, the neighbors didn't try to actually get richer. They just tried to look richer. They started buying things that sit in a driveway where people can see them. Cars, boats, motorcycles. Trying to keep up with the illusion of wealth literally drove them into bankruptcy. Peter isn't competing with his own bank balance at that red light. He's competing with whoever pulls up next to him. And that race has no finish line because someone is always idling 1 lane over and something shinier. So let me show you the other road, Laura's road. The math on this is almost insulting in how simple it is. Take that $700 or $800 car payment. Don't spend it. Keep driving the Camry. Put that money into a basic S&P 500 index fund and forget it exists. At a normal long-term historical return, after 30 years, that single redirected car payment is somewhere around $850,000 to over $1 million. The exact same dollars. One version buys you a rotating series of depreciating metal boxes and a permanent ulcer. The other version buys Laura a paid-off house and the ability to walk into her boss's office in her 40s and turn down a promotion with longer hours because she simply doesn't need the money. That is what the coffee-stained Camry actually bought her. The freedom to say no. When you're in your 20s or 30s, looking poor feels like failing. But look at Warren Buffett. One of the richest humans on earth lives in the same house in Omaha he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He eats a $3 McDonald's breakfast. The founder of IKEA drove the same Volvo for 20 years and bought clothes at flea markets. These people could buy a different mansion for every day of the week, but they look, by every visual cue we've been trained to read, kind of poor. That's not an accident. Looking rich and being rich are so frequently opposites that the costume is almost a confession. Now, I have to complicate the story, because if I stopped here, I'd be selling you a comfortable fantasy. Looking poor on purpose is a cheat code, but being actually poor is one of the most expensive things you can be in this country. It's called the poverty premium, and it is brutal. If you're broke and need a loan for rent, a payday lender will charge you 400% interest. If your credit is wrecked, the exact same car loan that costs a wealthy buyer 5% will cost you 20%. You pay 3 times the price for the identical car. Rent-to-own stores will sell you a $200 TV for $1,000, disguised as manageable weekly payments. Banks are the one institution that will only lend you an umbrella on a sunny day. Looking poor on purpose when you're financially secure is freedom. Looking poor when you're not secure costs you money, respect, and patience you can't spare. The trick the wealthy have figured out is that they get to opt into the modest look while secretly keeping the safety net underneath it.
So, where does this leave you? Right now, there's a whole movement online of underconsumption, people proudly showing off their 5-year-old sneakers. On paper, it's incredibly healthy. Yet almost half of Gen Z reports having money dysmorphia, feeling permanently broke because they compare their real lives to a social media feed engineered to look like everyone else already made it. Even the rich have realized flashy logos are tacky, so they pivoted to quiet luxury, a plain, unbranded sweater that secretly costs $2,000. It's the exact same status game, just with the volume turned down. Here is the ultimate secret. There is no costume that wins. The contest of looking like the right amount of money is rigged, and the only way to win is to stop playing. I give you permission to do the thing that quietly terrifies most people. You are allowed to look like less than you are. You are allowed to drive the paid-off Camry past the guy in the leased sedan and feel absolutely nothing because you know your account balance and he knows his, and only one of you is sleeping well at night. Let people underestimate you. Every dollar you don't spend convincing strangers you're doing fine is the dollar that is actually making you fine. A year from now, Peter is going to be trading in that sedan, $7,000 underwater, rolling it into his next payment, still looking like a winner. Laura is still going to be in the Camry. She'll still have the coffee stain, but she just crossed a number in her brokerage account that Peter will not see in his lifetime. And nobody at the red light will ever know. That's the whole point. She traded the applause for freedom because the applause was never going to pay her bills anyway. Looking poor was never the goal. It's just what it looks like from the outside when you finally have nothing left to prove. Drive the boring car, wear the cheap watch, let them underestimate you all the way to the bank. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.